All right, folks, what is going on? This is episode 284 of the First and Frame Rate Show. I am VF Baller. Got a handful of things I want to cover today, but it's all under one umbrella of being a fan of your team. It's going to be more of an interpersonal type of episode, if that makes sense, or if that sounded right. It's going to be a more personal episode, like me just talking about being a fan of teams and the things we have to go through, and what does it take to continue to be loyal to a team. Because I think when people talk about these type of things, I think it's more of, oh, I'm close to this team, so I gotta do this. Or no, it goes with good and bad, and it has. I feel like, for me, I want to address this to you guys, because I don't want you to think I'm just some guy that's on here just shaking pom-poms for a team. There's a reasoning behind not only just the obvious things, the reason behind, but there's a bigger picture, in my opinion, about being a fan of these two teams that I talk about every day. So I will discuss those. So hopefully you guys will enjoy and understand. First and foremost, welcome to the First and Frame Rate Show. I am VF Baller. Over here we talk about Georgia Southern and Atlanta Falcons football. It's been a fun week. It really has. The content's been great. The listenership, the viewership has been awesome. You guys are awesome. I really, really appreciate it. If this is your first time here, hit that like button, share this video. Also, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Now, I'm not 100% sure because I already linked the channels together. I want to let you guys know I am now on Rumble. So that will be rumble.com. I want to make sure if I get this right for you guys, because it's still kind of new. If you go on Rumble, just type in First and Frame Rates. It should pop right on up. If not, I will have the link in the description on the YouTube and the podcast side of things, so you can get to it, because it has like this weird URL and I have to change it. So nevertheless, I am now on Rumble. If you want to subscribe over there, if you want to watch, if that's your preference to watch the show on a visual level, that's where it's going to be as well. It's still going to be on YouTube. It's not going anywhere so it's just another option for you guys. Also, as far as the podcast go, I'm on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, and Anchor. If you want to listen over there, that's great. And like I said, the listenership and viewership is moving up. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you for watching and listening. And one more thing before I get into the meat of this podcast. If you want to donate, I have a couple of avenues that you can do so. You can check out the Cash App at VFBaller20. I think it's $VFBaller20. Also, you can look at the link down in the description on the Anchor support link. You can check that out and you can support there as well. I will have other avenues where you can support on that as well. So that's going to be options probably starting on Monday. So you guys could check all of that out, and it's totally optional, but it does help the channel grow. And if not, I'm just glad that you guys are here listening. All right, so enough of all of that, enough of house cleaning, all of that good stuff. So let's get into this. Fandom. I want to talk about fandom and what does it mean to me in general. I'm not going to go into the verbatim sense of the definition, but being a fan of your team, it means a lot. It's something very passionate for people, because some people put their time, their money, and they invest a lot into a team. Like me, I buy as much merch as I can. I try to represent as much as possible, and I still have more stuff I want to post in my game room / studio to show you how much I love my Georgia Southern Eagles and my Atlanta Falcons. Up and down, it doesn't matter. Whatever, I always ride it out with them. I do get upset with them, and I think that's one thing that I want to talk about, the stuff that makes you mad and things that really frustrate you about your team, because you feel that they can do better and you want them to do better. But before I get into that, I want to talk about the passion that you love for, that me, because I want to talk about myself, about the teams. Slight history, not going to go through a whole timeline, but slight history. I've been born and raised in around the Statesboro area. Basically, I was born and raised in Savannah, Georgia. So I've been knowing about Georgia Southern pretty much all my life. I'm not one of these one of the students that became Georgia Southern fans because of they went to the school. Nah, the thing is, I've known about Georgia Southern since the '80s, and one thing about me is I've always been into the team because of the localization of it. I've been watching them be real successful as a child, and it was a good thing because like it was a local team, was somewhat local that's really out here doing big things at a national level. I thought it was phenomenal. And so I've always had my attachment to Georgia Southern. Now, as far as the Falcons go, to be honest with you guys, this is going to sound kind of weird. I was a San Francisco 49ers fan in the, late 80s, early 90s. I really didn't acknowledge the Falcons was a team in Georgia because we didn't know too much about them back then. I remember as a kid when I watched on TV, it was all about Joe Montana and Jerry Rice. So and John Taylor. So I used to always watch them on TV, and I was a fan of the 49ers until I realized, like, wait a minute, there's a team in Georgia that's, that's a football team, an NFL team. So I was like, okay. So mind you, 1993 was pretty much the time when I became a Falcons fan. And it's kind of, like I said, it's kind of weird because I've always been in the state of Georgia for the most part. And I became a fan. And throughout all the ups and downs, I remember the 95 season when we made the playoffs at 9-7, the 98 season when, we made it to the Super Bowl and lost to Denver. I've been through all those up and down. 2001, Michael Vick. So I've always felt that even though people look at the Falcons as a poverty franchise, I always felt like there was some form of success to make you want to continue to hope that this team will continue to be a winning type of team. And, that really never came to fruition. Even to this day, it's still kind of up and down, even though the culture, I feel, is a winning culture. We just haven't found a way to put that together on the field. So I've always felt that the Falcons was there. Georgia Southern, I mean, what else to say? I mean, early 90s won a national title, late 90s into the 2000s winning national titles. I mean, I've always felt Georgia Southern was the standard when it came to college football in the state of Georgia. Now, everybody want to talk about the University of Georgia, what they did. You got to think about it. Throughout the time of 1980 to 2022, they weren't like the winning program, in my opinion. I've watched, even though it was FCS or 1AA, I still felt like it's prominent for the Georgia Southern to win these 6 national titles. I thought it was a big deal. So I've always felt that the Georgia Southern was still like they were on top of the world when it came to college football. That's just the way I felt, and I always will feel that way to this day. Now, there's nothing to take away from Georgia. It's nothing to take away from Georgia Tech or whatever the case may be. But I just felt like we were and we still are the standard when it comes to college football. There's nothing like I said, nothing to take away from that. But when I look at the situations with Georgia Southern nowadays, getting into the Sun Belt, winning the Sun Belt the first year in, and then now we haven't won the Sun Belt since. What's frustrating about it is like I demand a winning culture. Now, we won some bowl games. I want a winning, consistent winning, a winning culture, consistent winning, and we continue to just push on as being a standard to win. Personally, I feel like we should win 8 games a year. Every year we should win 8 games. And I don't talk like this much, but because I try to be fair, and I am fair when it comes to what happens on the field, but inside of me, I'm like, we need to be up here winning, going 8-4, 8-5, 9-3 every year. That's just how I feel, because I've been around when this team has been winning 12, 13, 14, 15 games. Yeah, everybody talk about that team. What was a couple years ago that went 15-0? No, we did that in the 80s. We won 15 games in the 80s. So, that's not the first team that do it, but I'm just saying that's the standard that I want to have. And to watch what has happened with the last few years, the 2017 season, the other season where we in 2011, we hung with Alabama, and when we beat Florida in 2013, I expect those type of things to happen, because even though we were FCS back then, we should be one of the top FCS teams. Going toe to toe with Appalachian State, going toe to toe with North Dakota State. That's where we were. going toe to toe with James Madison and Old Dominion. Those were great times back in the FCS days. But when we go up and play against the FBS teams, we should be competing at somewhat of a respectable level. The game I don't like to mention when we played the Golden Gophers, which I don't like to talk about that game because we should have won that game. Those are the type of games we should be playing and competing against FBS teams. And, when you look at games like the Arkansas game or the West Virginia game, or when you look at games like or the Clemson game, even though the Clemson game was fairly competitive, I get upset at those games because, we should be up at those type of we should be up in competing with those type of teams. I don't care what anybody say. I feel that way. Now, the way things are turning around now with Coach Helton, man, look, I think we're going to shock the world with what Coach Helton's putting together. I saw some type of article out that we're supposed to be 6.5 as far as winning games, 6 or 7 games. Now, I don't know. I think we're winning 8 or 9 games. I truly believe that. I just feel it with what we have. Now, if I'm wrong, it happens. But just right now, I don't see what they're doing in spring practice. I don't know what they're doing when it comes to what they've done in what did you call it, the spring game. I don't know what's going on right now. I just don't. But I just feel it. The recruiting, the coaching staff, the vibe of the team, the reaction of the players. I feel that we can do this. So with that being said, I want that taste of victory again. I felt that taste of victory when it comes to Georgia Southern for decades. Shout out to everybody who's attending to the school and you're students and you love this vibe and you don't know what's going on because you only been here for 2 or 3 years. And it's nothing against you guys. You guys are amazing. I want you guys to fill the student section when it's time to play football again. But I've had a taste of victory. I had a taste of championships with this team. And I think that we could do it again. I want us to, with Appalachian State, and you know what? There's a form of mutual respect with those guys in Boone, North Carolina. We talk about them with the goats and living up there in the boonies or whatever. We talk about them, but there's a level of respect for them. Those guys, been going toe to toe with them since 87. So it's been back and forth so much. They have 3 national titles. We have 6. Those guys, we've always played them tough back in the FCS days. I've always said it was the greatest college football rivalry you never heard of because it is. It's a really big rivalry. I feel like it's a big rivalry on the level of Ohio State, Michigan, Georgia, Georgia Tech, Georgia, Florida. Texas Tech, Texas, Oklahoma. It's those type of rivalries. And what I like about Appalachian State, they continued to evolve. They continue to be on the level of these FBS Group of 5, not Group of, but Power 5 teams. They were able to try to do that and compete with the Miami, compete with the North Carolina, compete with the South Carolina. They catered the athletes and their game plan and their playbook to be more of I ain't gonna say traditional, but more of a modernized offense to where they could compete with these guys. And their recruits are no different than the recruits we get. 3-star, 2-star recruits. Maybe they're throwing I think they got 1 4-star recruit recently. We just got one as well. But we have the same amount of talent they have. That's why when we play each other, it's not more of just like, oh, we hate them with this, that, and the third. We can compete with them because a lot of those guys are on the same level as us. And what they've done is put in place to compete with Power 5 teams. And I think Georgia Southern has finally caught up to that. Clay Helton has finally got that together to where we can do that. And I love that part about it. What I hate about it is all the gap, the lost games that we could have done better because the talent on the field is that good. The fact that strength and conditioning wasn't together, and we saw a lot of players get hurt last year. All that stuff has changed now, but when Even the year that we went to the Camellia Bowl, and I do not want to, look down on that year because we went 10-3 after going 2-10. Phenomenal season. But look how we won a lot of those games. We won a lot of those games with the talent we had. There wasn't any phenomenal play calling that was put together. There wasn't that big of a game plan that was put together. Like, look, we're going to run the hybrid option, and our players are just going to be faster than you guys on the corner, and we're going to run past you every chance we get. And that's basically how we did it. And I'm not taking nothing away from the players because they done a phenomenal. Not necessarily want to take away from the coaching staff either, but I looked at that season, and when I look back on it now, I was like, man, those guys played their heart out with their instincts. That's not sustainable. And we saw what happened in the years after. I think we ended up losing the Cure Bowl, which was kind of weird how we lost that one. But then we turned right back around. We won the R.L. Carey New Orleans Bowl, which that game kind of felt more like a game plan was put together, and that felt good. Doug Roos came in and put in somewhat of a game plan, and Coach Sloan did together a phenomenal job on defense. That felt a lot better, but a lot of the players was trying to get used to that, so it was still it wasn't executed 100% or 90% properly, but it was executed. But those are the things I kind of see when I look at these teams. Like, even with all that's going on, it just felt kind of weird. But I love my team. I love this school. I've been loving them for decades. A lot of people look at me as like, oh, you're not that old. No, dude, I was born in the 80s. People in the Discord are like, man, I thought you was like a certain age. No, man, I'm pushing 40. Like, seriously, I'm pushing 40. I'm up there. But before I close, I want to flip to the Falcons. The Falcons are still in turmoil right now when it comes to actually competing for a Super Bowl or competing to get in the playoffs. And it's been a wild ride. It has since 1993 for me. And like I said, watching them make the playoffs in 95, watching them go to the Super Bowl in 98, going through turmoil till Michael Vick comes around. The Michael Vick experience was awesome. The win at Lambeau against Green Bay, getting to the NFC Championship game, losing to the Eagles, which we could have had a chance to go to the Super Bowl. Then Matt Ryan comes in. Rookie Matt Ryan goes to 11-5 season, makes the playoffs. We did some pretty good things. NFC Championship, Super Bowl, 28-3, 4 losing seasons, and we're here now where Arthur Smith and Terry Fontenot is now is now running the show. And I think that there's going to be probably another year until we get to some type of prominence going deep in the playoffs. But I love what I see with this team. When I look at the Falcons, we still holding on to Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan's probably going to be around for a while. I know you guys don't want to hear that, but I think he's still the best option of what we have. If we drafted any other quarterback last year and put him out there with that offensive line, that quarterback would have probably been never the same for the rest of his career. So when Matt Ryan is doing what he did, 20-plus touchdowns, 11 interceptions with no receivers, basically, no disrespect to Russell Gage, but he's a number 2 at best. Maybe number 3, he did phenomenal things. We look at the running game. We're going to need another running back. We're going to need some better guys on defense. We talked about this throughout in the draft episode, so I don't want to go too far with that. But I'll still ride it out with this team no matter what. There's been times when they made me mad. Oh, my God, I can't tell you when I literally wanted to leave and stop, supporting this team because of some of the things that they've done. But at the end of the day, I got to be true to myself, and I got to be true to the team that has always been there for me. Because even though throughout the bad times, when they were losing games, I watched players that I thought had potential. Y'all weren't there when Tim Toon was a receiver for the Falcons, and I fell in love with him. The Harry Douglas years when Harry Douglas was a great little slot guy. I remember Fun and Gun when June Jones was the coach. I was there when all that was going on. The kid from Ohio State, what's his name? He was number 12. Oh my God, him and Roddy White was together. Matter of fact, I think he caught Matt Ryan's first touchdown Oh my goodness, I can't remember his name. If y'all remember the name, please put it down in the comment section. The Jarius Norwood years. I loved every bit of it because I always felt that there was some type of breakthrough. Somebody was going to be talented, and it didn't pan out. It didn't pan out. And that was okay. You couldn't tell me I thought OJ Santiago was going to be that guy at one point. For real. Real fans could talk about players just like that off the top of their head. I still can't get number 12's name from Ohio State that played wide receiver. I just can't remember his name. Oh man, that's. Let me see if I can pull that up because that's gonna irk my nerves. That's gonna hurt my nerves. Hold on one second. Come on, what was his name? Goodness, I can't remember his name. Man, you know what? I give up because I can't. Even the internet don't even want to give me the answer. And it's not Muhammad Sanu. It wasn't him. Not Muhammad Sanu. It was before that. It was before that. Because I know people are talking about Muhammad Sanu. It was before because he played alongside Roddy White. But nevertheless, it's always been a good time, win, lose, or draw, because I love my team. Even though they made me mad, I get up the next day, that Monday after we lose, and I still was there to love the team that I'm rooting for. And this is the thing that I will continue to do. I mean, why not? It's just, it's just it's just the right thing to do in my opinion. I mean, people, you got to look at it. Look at Cincinnati. Look at those fans. Those guys went through hell going through that, those years. They didn't win a playoff game since 1990. They went, it was crazy. And now they're in the Super Bowl. Michael Jenkins. There it is. It just dawned on me. Michael Jenkins was the receiver. Jesus Christ. But now they're in the Super Bowl in a few years. I still believe that can happen with the Falcons. They just have to get things together. They have to get things in order. I'm not sure if they'll be able to, but hey, we'll see. But I love my teams. This is where I come from. This is why I do these videos. This is why I do this podcast. This is why I bring you this content. Because for me, it's not just, hey, let's talk about teams that nobody really wants to talk about because of the win-loss record or because they think the Falcons is a poverty franchise. Let's talk about Georgia Southern because not too many people talk about Georgia Southern football. Shout out to Captain Clack. Shout out to Talent Talk. Shout out to GATA Gata Talk or GATA Talk. Shout out to those guys who are still pushing Georgia Southern content. Obviously shout out to Eagle Nation Live. They do theirs, the official podcast for Georgia Southern because they work for Georgia Southern and they do a great job. Danny Reed and good Lord, Danny Reed and Company. Man, I'm not good with names. I do apologize. We are, the ones that push this content, and we do it because we really love it. I think we all love it. I do. I really, really enjoy doing this content for Georgia Southern football and Atlanta Falcons. This is what to be honest with you guys, and I should have said this earlier, but I definitely will close by saying this. Even since I was a little kid, I used to do funny things when it comes to broadcasting. I've always been a fan of talk radio. Never really listened to it, but I always thought that talk radio was really cool. Even as a kid, and I used to record myself on blank tapes, acting like I was doing a broadcast. So I don't think I was born to do this, to be honest, but I know I have a big passion for it. And I told myself one day that even though I was making other videos when it comes to this, like I was doing video game stuff and sports gaming stuff, but I sat down one day and said, you know what? I really want to sit here and talk about these teams and give you my analysis of them. Just a regular guy. I don't take notes. I don't do nothing crazy when it comes to like being a professional at this. I genuinely just cut on the recording in my cameras and just go. None of this stuff is scripted. I promise you it's not. But what I do is I just sit here and just talk. And I wanted to be this way because I wanted to be the most authentic, commentary from a fan's perspective that is out there. I don't have any bulletin points. I don't have none. I just go with the topic that I have, and I'm glad that you guys are here listening to this because I really, really appreciate it. And I wouldn't want it no other way. So I really hope these teams turn it around. 3-9. Ooh, Georgia Southern, man, 7-10. Not too bad for the Falcons, but we just need more players that with a little bit more talent because we overachieved, in my opinion. And I trust Coach Helton, everybody, Will Harris, Ryan Applin, the offensive coordinators. I don't want to go down the whole name list, but all of you guys that are there putting those kids to work to be a level of excellence on and off the field when it comes to being a student athlete. I really appreciate you guys coming to Georgia Southern and trying to turn this around because you guys could have been where you are and continue to flourish in Power 5 schools. And we could have still been looking for a coach, to be honest. As far as the Falcons go, thank Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith for trying to make a winning culture within the Falcons. I know a lot of guys decided to move on because they did not want to be a part of a rebuild or starting over like number 11. And now we got reports of Ricardo Allen feeling the same way. That's fine. We going to bring some guys in here, hopefully, to win some games. And at the end of the day, that's what I want. And I appreciate those guys because they didn't have to take the job either. They didn't have to take this job. So we'll see how things go. And we'll just continue to make this content. And it's a good way to end the Friday, in my opinion. It's a good way to end the Friday. Hopefully you guys made it this far. If you did, I really appreciate it. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, whether it be YouTube or Rumble, because I should be on Rumble now. Subscribe to the channel because the content will be all over there as well. If you're listening to this on the podcast side of things, give me a 5-star rating. I think this one deserves a 5-star. I think I did a pretty good job. If I didn't, let me know. But I think I did a pretty good job this go around. And subscribe to the Podcast Avenue if you like as well. I really, really appreciate the support. The listenership and the viewership is up. Hopefully it continues to go up. I do my part and do whatever I can to make this content the best so you guys can continue to watch and or listen. And if you really, really like the content, not only just share it with your fellow, friends or your fellow family members. Also, if you want to, there's a donate button down there in the Anchor link. Also, you can hit me up on Cash App because all that does is going to help expand this channel to a greater heights. It's going to help expand the content to greater heights. It's a one-man show. I do it all as far as the content editing and putting this stuff up. And I do this not only for the love of my teams, but I do it for the love of you guys as well. And I really, really appreciate you guys for making it this far once again. I'm going to enjoy the rest of my weekend. I hope you guys do as well. It's the Super Bowl. I didn't want to talk about the Super Bowl because they have nothing to do with my teams, but it's the Super Bowl weekend. Also, it's Valentine's Day weekend. I guess that makes sense. Valentine's Day weekend. Do something for your significant other. Don't be a you-know-what. Do that as well. And go ahead and enjoy the festivities of the Super Bowl. I will be back on a Monday. Even though it's Valentine's Day, I probably will be putting up a episode for that day. So hopefully you guys will enjoy your weekends. Hopefully you enjoyed this content. I thank you guys. I'm going to slide up out of here. Enjoy your weekend. You guys be blessed. Peace.